Alright, this is my audience.
Alright, hello everybody. My name is Dallas. I'm a sophomore at Kentucky State University, and I'm a computer science major as well. Alright, so today I'm going to talk to you all about the computer and what makes a computer. Alright, and I guarantee all of you in the audience right now have some sort of device on you. Am I right? Okay. Alright, do you know how that device actually works and what is powering it on the inside? Alright, yeah. So today I'm going to answer that question for you, at least I hope so. Alright, so I'll be talking to you all about everything that goes into a working computer. And in my life I've actually built 2 computers by myself, and I am a computer science major, as I just said. So it's obviously something that I have enjoyed and I've always enjoyed, but it was only until recently that I could afford to build multiple computers. Alright, so I'll be talking to you all about the hardware, the operating system, and the peripherals needed for a working computer. So let me begin with the parts that make using a computer possible, which is the hardware and my favorite section of this. Alright, so hardware is used to actually power the computer and will make it either faster or slower depending on your parts. And this is what differs from everything else. You need to have good hardware in order for your computer to run faster or slower. Alright, another definition by lifewire.com would be that computer hardware refers to the physical components that make up a computer system. So the first one I want to talk about is the motherboard. And the motherboard is the main part of the computer, and it makes everything come together or centralized. Everything attached to your computer is attached to the motherboard in some fashion, and I actually have one with me right here. So this is an older PC, but as you can see, the motherboard right here, all these wires in this computer are connected to the motherboard in some way, shape, or form. So yeah. Alright, so after the motherboard, I'm going to move on to the central processing unit, which was on the motherboard as well. I'll go ahead and show you. It's underneath this fan, but it's at the center of the motherboard. And the central processing unit is essentially the brain of the computer. Its job is to do the processing, and you need to pick a better processor if you want your computer to be fast, because it's doing all those tasks for you, either faster or slower depending on which one you pick, like opening an application or running some command. It's going to run faster or slower depending on the processor that you choose. So after that, the next part I want to talk about is my favorite, which is the graphics card. And the graphics card is the eye of the computer. If you want to push out a nice looking picture, you're going to want to have a better graphics card. Or you're going to play a detailed game, or you want your pictures or videos to run smooth, you're going to want a better graphics card. Here is my graphics card, one of my older ones. It was about $200 or so a few years ago. But not everyone needs to have a good graphics card. Usually they have them integrated into the motherboard. But yeah, you really only need one if you want to play games, honestly. Alright, so to the next part, the power supply. And the power supply is how the computer will get energy. And this is the part of the computer that the power plug comes out of and you attach to the wall. It brings the electrical power to everything on your computer, and including the mouse and keyboard. Alright, so yeah, that's a pretty simple one. But next is the hard drive, and this is where all your info that you download gets stored. Whenever you download something on the internet or create some type of file, such as a Word file, it goes on your hard drive and will not go away unless you it will not go away when you shut your computer off, which is different from RAM, which I will talk about next. It is actually permanent storage. So these are not as important when it comes to speed on your computer, but getting a different type of hard drive, such as an SSD, will make your boot up times on your computer extremely fast. And what I mean by this is, if you have a hard drive with your operating system on it, your hard drive will take about 45 seconds to a minute, whereas if you have an SSD, it'll only take about 10 seconds to boot up. So it's usually for more advanced users such as myself. I actually have an SSD and a hard drive in my computer. So the next thing I want to talk about is RAM, which is also known as random access memory. And this is memory that is accessed randomly. Like the way your brain can recall memory quickly, RAM recalls data on the hard drive quickly. Having more RAM will make multitasking feel much better. It can also make or break a computer's performance. So RAM, if you want to open up multiple applications and do various things at once, you're going to want to have more RAM. If you have less RAM, you're not going to be able to do multiple things, and that can, as this day and age, we need to do multiple things at once. Alright, so now that I've told you about what powers the computer, I'm going to discuss what makes the user able to use the computer and operate it effectively, which is the operating system. Alright, so the operating system is used to operate the computer. It will help you perform basic functions such as executing Microsoft Office, installing applications, and managing your files and folders. There are various operating systems that you can install on your computer. The most popular OS is Windows, of course, which I'm sure all of you are familiar with. There are a few others though, such as Mac OS or Linux. Mac OS is for MacBooks, and I actually have a MacBook myself. It is a very user-friendly OS, very simple. And then Linux, on the other hand, is for the advanced user, so I wouldn't recommend Linux to just a random person. But to create the applications that we all know and love, such as Microsoft Office or even Google Chrome, programmers will need to use an operating system to do this. According to the University of Pennsylvania's website, all application software or apps will rely on the operating system for the computer to perform tasks. And each OS will communicate differently with the hardware, which will lead programmers to program differently depending on which one they're using. So this is a tough task for me. Every time I switch an operating system, I have to use a different language, which can be very tough. Alright, so after that, this will bring me to the next thing, which is peripherals. Peripherals are the external devices that you use to control the computer. These devices provide input to the computer. According to Cron.com, input devices are designed to allow you to share data to your machine in the form of text commands in a language the computer will understand. Keyboards and mice are devices that you use to input your controls onto the keyboard, thus making the computer be able to do what you want it to do. So another example would be a microphone. When you are talking to the mic, it'll push that sound into the computer. There are also devices that provide output, such as printers. Printers will let you take an image from the computer and output it onto a piece of paper. A monitor for a computer is also an output device. If you all remember the graphics card, which I talked about earlier, it essentially takes the image that was processed onto the graphics card and will output it onto the monitor. And then all these peripherals are connected to the motherboard as well. When you plug them into a USB port, it will communicate that to the motherboard, which will then send a signal to your operating system and will automatically download the files that you need to use them, which are called the drivers. Alright, with all this said, I will conclude. To wrap things up, the hardware is what makes the computer run. This includes the motherboard, the power supply, the graphics card, the central processing unit, the RAM, and the hard drive. The operating system is what allows the user to control what the computer does. The peripherals let you input and output the commands and control the operating system. Alright, now that you all know how the devices in your pockets are being powered, I'll allow questions. Alright, are there no questions? Alright, they're just a little embarrassed. Okay. Alright, well that's all. Have a good day.